Hello and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining the BenQ's November live event. We are excited to have you join us today. We're giving just a minute to make sure we've got some last minute people joining in so that everybody's on once we get started. While we're waiting, I would like to go ahead and go over a few things. My name is Medea Shamsi. I'm the marketing specialist with the BenQ Education Marketing Team, and I'm based out of the Plano, Texas office. With me, I have Carly Burton-Soleil, our marketing manager, and we have a new team member, Cooper Harrison, who is also part of the marketing team based out of the Plano, Texas office. So we're excited to have him on board, and you'll be seeing a lot more of him going forward on our webinars. Before we get started, I just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, so fear not, we will be sharing the recording link with you later in the week, along with the PowerPoint presentations that are being shared and any additional videos and things that has been provided throughout this call. So you will have that provided to you before the end of this week. So all I want you guys to do is watch the presentation, enjoy, and make sure that if you guys have any questions, to go ahead and add them to our chat box so that we can make sure when we do our Q&A session at the end of the presentation, we're able to address and answer all of those for you. Today we have a couple of presenters. We've got Francisco Flores, who is our FAE based out of the Plano, Texas office as well. He will be doing a quick demo on InstaShare to kind of show you some of the features that tie in with what one of our West Ottawa teachers will be presenting, how she is utilizing InstaShare in her classroom and creating a very friendly, collaborative, and communicative environment in her classroom. So with that said, I would like to go ahead and get started with our session for today. Again, today's session is about boosting creativity and collaboration in classrooms through technology, and in our specific case with the BenQ boards. And our boards come with lots of bells and whistles, which help us with encouraging teachers teach their way and also having students participate and get active in the lessons in their classrooms. Give me just 1 second. There we go. All right, so moving forward, today's key takeaways for y'all are that we'll be talking again about how technology is improving and improving engagement in classrooms using smart boards, in our case, BenQ boards, and all the bells and whistles that come with it that makes it super easy, seamless for teachers to not only communicate with their students, but also get them engaged and have active participation in class to get that class going and having that participation level increase in their classrooms. We're doing that with one of our apps, which is the InstaShare 2 wireless screen sharing app, which is a software that is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Android, allowing teachers to use their content and sharing with everybody in their class, getting them engaged and participating in that as well. We have Kim Fox from West Ottawa. She is a teacher that teaches 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, and she has used BenQ Boards in a very unique way and created a classroom that is project-based, that enhances students to participate and get engaged and do their learning on a project-based level. We are also going to pick an attendee from our call today that will be winning a screen bar, a BenQ screen bar. So make sure that you're keeping an eye out for an email either from me or Carly if you do get picked, but please make sure that you're staying throughout the event and all the way through the end to the Q&A session to be eligible to put your name in the drawing for this. So I just want to, before we get started, what I would like to do is just kind of give you a brief intro about what InstaShare 2 is and how it's being used in classrooms. And then I will hand off the presentation to our FAE, Francisco, who will share a really quick demo video that he's put together to go over everything and how this feature works on the BenQ boards.
They're seeing.
Before I move forward, can everybody confirm that they're seeing my full screen?
Kim,
Especially Kim.
are you seeing the space trivia?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, our computers are not
Okay.
doing it with us.
All right, perfect. I'm sorry, guys. We were just wanting to make sure that everybody's seeing our screen because we don't want to have any technical difficulties as we are recording this, and we want to make sure that people who are not able to join or attend this this webinar are able to watch it in the future. And like I said, we're recording this. We will be sharing the link with you guys. Make sure if any of your colleagues who are unable to join us today to share that link with them as well so they can benefit and learn more about InstaShare and how teachers are utilizing it in classrooms and get the benefit out of it as well. So I don't know how many of you are familiar what InstaShare is. It's a wireless screen sharing software that comes with the BenQ board, subscription free. There is no charge for that. It comes with the board. You don't have any kind of annual subscription fees for it. So that's the best part of it. Its purpose is for students to share ideas and have productive discussions while casting from their own devices. InstaShare 2 has numerous features. For today's discussion purpose, we will only be focusing on one of its features, which is screen sharing for the whole class. Just an FYI, this is a really popular wireless screen sharing app that we have. It has lots of benefits and lots of features, and we are planning on hosting another webinar that will really take a deep dive into it. So stay tuned for more details coming on that for our December webinar. So for today's purpose, we're just talking about screen sharing, which is just one aspect of this. And I'm going to go over and give you just some key points for it. And Francisco's demo will kind of like really show you how it works on the board for you guys to get a better idea. Moving on to my next slide. Okay, so the screen sharing for the whole class. What InstaShare allows is gives up to 9 students access to be able to share their screen from their own devices, so that the entire classroom can see. If this is a project-based class, they'd be able to see 9 different projects going on at the same time, and we'll be able to interact and comment and provide feedback on those as well. When they are sharing their screen, the board automatically is splitting the screen to accommodate all the people that are sharing their screen. So if it's 4 people sharing, it will adjust it to show 4 screens at the same time, and this can go up to nine screen shares.
I'm sorry, one second.
Just a moment, please.
What are you presenting on? I'm sorry. They're only seeing the one slide, sweetie. They're just seeing the one slide. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna go back here. Okay, let's just do this. Stop casting. Escape. Thank you everyone for
Just
the
a
notes.
moment,
Thank
please.
you everyone for the notes in the chat. I'm so sorry. You were here.
Do
And
I need to go back?
nope, we're gonna share the slides. You guys can all see them at the bottom. Sorry for the confusion. Yes, you can click over. She did have a few slides, but she's just telling you a lot about what's going on with the product. And
you haven't missed anything, because everything that I've talked about is what's going to be demoed by Francisco here in just a few minutes. So I apologize for the technical difficulty. I hope everyone is now seeing the slide that says screen sharing for the whole class. We're good? All right, awesome. So like I said, I'm just going over just the key points of the InstaShare 2. It allows you to have up to 9 students in your classroom to share their screens at the same time. The board automatically adjusts this, the split screen to accommodate the number of students sharing. So if it's 4, it'll be showing 4 student screens, and it could go up to 9 students at a given time. This kind of setup facilitates teachers to have group presentations in the class and have productive discussions to be more engaging with your students, student interacting with other students, giving them life skills that are very much needed once they step out of school and go into the actual work environment. And at this point, what I would like to do is stop sharing my screen and give access to Francisco, who will be sharing his quick demo and showing you how InstaShare works on the board and how you can utilize that in your classroom and share your students' screens and have everyone watch that at the same time. Francisco, if you're ready, you are more than welcome to start sharing your screen.
All right, let's see if I can get this going. All right, can everybody see me? All right. So I do want to jump in here real quick and just kind of go over what it looks like on the board. So what I've got behind me here.
Francisco, hang on.
Hang on a second, Francisco.
Now we can see you. We're good.
Okay. Better. Okay. So here on our BenQ board, InstaShare 2 is one of our pre-installed apps that comes loaded. We do also push out updates to that regularly, so that's another thing. We add, new features and enhancements and fixes to it regularly, but this is preloaded on our boards. And when you open it up, this is the interface that you're going to see. One of the great things about it, and I do mention this here in the video, but I just really want to emphasize this, is how the InstaShare 2 is very much a device agnostic app, meaning that it can work well with any platform pretty much that you're going to see in the classroom, whether it be a teacher device in the Windows or Mac OS, or a student device is going from iOS, iPad OS, Android, Chrome OS. It plays nicely with the others. We have the app available that you can install even from the Chrome web store, so that you have some functionality there. So we also have native Miracast, AirPlay, and Chromecast that is built into the devices. One thing to note is that the networks either have to be, the devices have to be either on the same network, or they have to be on a network that has been connected on the back end by the networking team. That's a little bit more technical, so that's not for this presentation, but as long as the networks can communicate, then you can jump in with any of these devices on either one of those. And then the little box that you see here is actually movable, it floats. And this is where you're going to see some of the options. There's the smart split screen that Medea mentioned earlier. And this is really great when student devices are being added or removed. that you can collaboratively share up to those 9 devices. And as you're adding and removing devices, it actually adjusts the proportion of screen real estate that it's taking up. So if you have only 4 devices, you're going to have 4 equally spaced boxes instead of having 9, and then the rest of them are going to be blank. But you also have the ability to come over here if you're doing just a directed teacher lesson and have the floating window independently, to where you can have your device displayed on screen and have the flexibility to move it anywhere on the display while you're also utilizing a different app. But I did a quick demo with 4 devices connected up to our InstaShare app. So let me switch over to that real quick, and then we'll proceed with our show today. InstaShare 2 is the wireless casting solution available on your BenQ board. InstaShare 2 allows you to wirelessly display any device up onto your display without the need for any wired connections. This app is native to our BenQ board and is also available to download and utilize from Windows devices as well as Mac OS, iOS, iPadOS, Android, and Chrome OS. Utilizing this app, you're able to wirelessly share and display any teacher device as well as multiple student devices. In my settings, you'll notice I have the ability to either select a floating window or the smart split screen, which lets me display 9 devices simultaneously. Right now, I want to show a quick example of these 4 devices I have currently connected. You'll notice that I've got them grayed out, but as I go to tap the eyeball icon, that lights up and brings it back on screen. As I add devices, you'll notice that the screen adjusts the size of each window based on the number of devices that I have currently displayed. I have some icons available on each screen, which tells me which is selected. And I also have the ability to interact with each one of the displays shown up on my BenQ board, so I can move through the presentation for each screen and interact with my different devices from the BenQ board itself. I can also have the students from their device at their desks also manipulate, move, edit, and do any of the presentation portion that they need to from their device at their desks as well. If I wanted to bring focus to one or a couple devices, I can go back into my menu here. I just simply tap on the eye icon, and that will hide that device temporarily while maintaining the connection. Now I can focus on just these 2 screens or just one. With 9 devices simultaneously displayed on screen, I can also maintain a connection with up to 32 devices simultaneously and manage the connection of displayed devices from this menu and select which 9 I would like to have displayed at any time. I want to bring everybody back up, thank them for their presentation, and now we can close out their window and move on to our next group. All right, that's a quick and easy overview of InstaShare 2, BenQ's wireless casting solution.
All right, thank you, Francisco. This was really informative, and putting a picture to all the words that we've been saying, all the things that we've been saying. So appreciate that. Francisco, if you could just stop sharing your screen. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna introduce Kim Fox from West Ottawa. She is a teacher at West Ottawa who's been having great classroom success with InstaShare. Kim, would you please share your screen and your PowerPoint with us at this point?
Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, hang on. I know what I forgot. There we go.
There we go. We see it.
There we go.
All right. Can everybody see Kim's screen? She has an intro slide saying using InstaShare with students.
Good job. Thank you,
Yay,
everybody.
awesome. All right, Kim, what I would like to do is hand off the mic to you. If you could please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about you and what you're doing.
Okay. So I am currently a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade advanced language arts teacher at West Ottawa Public Schools. Our program is called the SAIL program, Students Advanced in Learning. I have been in this position for about this is my 3rd year. Prior to that, I've taught 2nd through 5th grade general ed for about 28 years. I'm part of our West Ottawa tech team. I was part of the BenQ pilot team, meaning my BenQ board showed up 1 year ago this month for me and my students to play with it and figure out what it is we can make it do. And so I'm starting my 2nd year with the BenQ board. So everything you are seeing in my presentation today has been done probably well in the last year on the BenQ board.
It's been a labor of love for you, Kim, right?
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
I love this. I've had so much fun with it. And when you see the presentation, I hope you will be able to figure out why I'm enjoying it so much. The kids love it. That's the other thing. The kids absolutely love it. And they can actually run the board if I'm not around, which is very convenient when you have a guest teacher. And also super, super convenient when it doesn't do what you want it to do and they all figure out why. We've had that happen multiple times. I just look at them and say, what did we do? And usually one of them is the one that fixes it for me. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So one of the things that with the BenQ board that I've really, really appreciated is how I'm able to use it to teach new skills to my kids. They project to the board, or I project to the board depending on the situation, and I use the board itself in real time to demonstrate the skill or the tool, and then the students can follow the steps on their own device. So this is an example of Canva. This is a 3rd grade example, new to 3rd grade sale this year. And this was actually one of the very first times that they had used Canva. So what we were able to do is project to the BenQ board and then walk them through step by step so that they could see what to do to create and use the different tools on Canva. And then there's revising. And this for me has probably been the biggest game changer with the InstaShare. Is prior to BenQ rolling in and being able to InstaShare, it really was this. What? You want me to change what I have done? You want me to rewrite this? And getting this, can I please go next? And we use a protocol a lot of times when we're doing our revising called Stars and Wishes, and it's a project-based learning protocol. And they start with what was done well, what they liked, and then what suggestions and wonderings that they have. And this is usually student work that's been shared via InstaShare. So what they do is there's a couple different options. We've done it a couple different ways. And that first option is they will real-time adjust with immediate feedback. So what you're seeing here is the little boy on the lower right-hand corner. He's sharing his screen to the board, and then there's feedback being given at the BenQ board itself. And as the suggestions are being made, either the classmates or myself, depending on what it is, will provide the suggestions. The student will work on his personal device to make the suggested revisions, and then the revisions are evaluated and adjusted as needed or desired. The other option is a record and share, and this is usually something I do with more extensive revisions or suggestions that are being made. So you're seeing the same infograph that was previously shown on the screen, but this time there were lots of things that needed that were being suggested, and it's difficult to remember all those. And sometimes they just take more time than what we have when we're presenting. So you write right on the board, use the floating tool, write down what the kids are saying. Sometimes the kids will come up and write what they're saying. And then when I'm done, I save a screenshot to my Google Drive, and then I share it with the student for them to then be able to pull up in their drive and have it next to what they're working on, so that they can go from something that looks like this to something that looks like that. So that was a before and after, and this was third grade that did this. This was the third grader.
You've got some really talented students, Kim.
They are, thank you. They like they like being able to see their work get better. And so it's been a big motivator that way for them to get the feedback. Once they started seeing what other people were doing, it's like, oh, I want mine to look like that too. So it's been a really, really big motivator to get them to go from what you see on the left to what you see on the right. And while we're doing this, I'm teaching, in this case, like text features, headings, what's your topic, font size, all those things that go into informational writing, but doing it in a way that the kids are engaged and really want to be able to make their work look professional too. The other thing with the InstaShare that has allowed us to do is cross grade level collaboration. We did a PBL last spring that was a fundraiser. We partnered up with a local college that does a dance marathon for a children's hospital in the area. And so this was a newsletter article that was first written by 5th grade and Insta shared. And then the second draft was revised by 4th grade, and the final draft was revised and edited by 3rd grade. And so we were able to do cross-curricular or cross-grade level collaboration in order to come up with a final product that was then published out and sent out to our community. We've also used it for writing. We just finished up one this fall. Our public library does a Lakeshore Little Read, which means all the libraries along the lakeshore are reading the same books. And our local library does a story project in conjunction with a Little Read. And you read the story by the chosen author, and then you use that book to write your own book, and then the library publishes it for you. So with the InstaShare, one of the key features that we were able to use, or we took advantage of, is you're able to share on any platform with ease. So as we were working through our stories, they were writing their first drafts in Drive, and then they were working in Canva, and sometimes they were going out on Google or ChatGPT. I always get those. AI, there we go. I can do that. And they can do, and all of those work on the BenQ board. So an example of a stars and pushes protocol that we used in writing, first draft goes up. They were picking, they opted to do the culture of PC, Pine Creek. They wanted to highlight that, the gifts that are in our Pine Creek cultural heritage. So they all picked, we picked all of the different cultures that are represented here in our building, and we have a lot. And then they researched something about that culture, and then they picked a poetry style that they wanted, and then they wrote it, and then we gave feedback on it via InstaShare, and then they would share their finished project. This one we did real-time revising because we were trying to adjust the color of the illustration after it was, she had that all laid out so that the this part here, the girl in the dress was it was a different color and was kind of like the only thing you were paying attention to when you looked at that screen. And we went through various colors to pick the ones that most balanced the illustration. So the illustrations and the writing were all done by students, and then they translated it all on Canva. Here is another one. This is 5th grade. Again, the stars, what we really liked about it, and then the wishes, the suggestions, and this was a screenshot that got sent back to him so that it looked like this when he was done. And then this is an example that was written by one of my 5th graders. She is new to SAIL this year. She is also a language learning student. And that's what hers looked like when it was done.
Very colorful.
They got to, I mean, they picked their own, they got to pick their own illustrations. They had to identify illustrations that actually enhanced what they were writing about and taught more, because we had a conversation with the book that we read by Juji Morales. She was the author and the illustrator. So one of the conversations we had about writing, when you are the author and the illustrator, you know exactly what it is you want your readers to understand, and you can help support that when you pick the illustrations to support what you're writing about. Example, 4th grade example here, the green squiggles that you see along the border of the published product was intentional because those are the noodles that he's writing about in his pasta. And then this one here is another 4th grade example that her background, she went out and we used AI, and we learned how to use AI to generate an illustration because she couldn't find one in the platform that we were using that supported what it was she was trying to, that she was writing about. And those of us that were not Hispanic didn't understand what this looked like when she was writing about it. So we were able to find a picture that supports it. And then this is a 3rd grade example, what it looked like before, and then what it looked like after. And just part of, I wanted to make sure you saw 3rd grade because 3rd grade had 2 days to figure out how to use Canva and do their illustrations because we were on a very, very tight timeline. And because we had InstaShare, we could put it up, we could walk through it, and everybody saw it, and then everybody could do it themselves. When we were selecting our book covers, we used InstaShare. Everybody generated, went out and generated covers. They were AI generated, and then they shared them. And then we did something called dot voting, where they would use the floating tool to vote for the designs that they liked. And then as we narrowed down the selections, all they had to do was exit InstaShare, brought up the ones that were still being saved, and we could do an erase all, revote, and the whole time it took about 15, maybe 20 minutes from start to finish to decide what was going to be our final cover.
That's
And
awesome.
then, Yeah, it was, I mean, that's probably one of the other big things about InstaShare is the time saver. We're able to do a lot of things much quicker through InstaShare with the revising and the editing and the putting it up there and working through things. So like this was our final product. We InstaShared all 3 books. We ended up writing 3 books, and the kids went through them with a fine-tooth comb and made sure that everything was correct. So not only did we get to this, please let me, will you help me make mine better? The editing process is something that they have now realized there's a reason for it. And it's the last thing we do, not the first thing we do, which is what kids like to do when they're writing and revising. It's like, well, I'm just going to fix all the spelling and the capitals. No, you revise first and revise and revise and revise, and then you edit when you think it's finally ready for publication. And so they literally fine-tooth combed every single page of the book. In reading, what it's allowed us to do, I use visible thinking a lot, which comes out of Harvard, Project Zero. They're very simple routines that let you target certain kinds of thinking, and there's a different routine for each one for the kind of thinking that you are doing. And so I was teaching my 3rd graders how to do a color symbol image, which is a way to synthesize what you're reading and what's important in the reading. So we did our first one together. I Insta-shared. We talked together about the chapter in a book that we had read, and then we had a conversation. What would be the color that you picked and why? What would be a symbol that you picked and why? And what would be the image that you picked and why? And you had to use evidence from the book, and you have to cite your page numbers so that when we go back and look at them, you know where it came from. So this was made together so that after it was done, I could then share it with them, and they had their own anchor chart exemplar. This is another example of a step inside that we did together. It's another thinking routine. But then what it lets you do is, here's an example of 9 different Chromebooks that were shared all at the same time. I did have to teach 3rd graders how to do it. Took about all of 30 seconds because I could do it through InstaShare. They walked through it with me, and then they all put up their work. Whereas before, when we would do this, we'd have to look at everybody's Chromebook, or we'd have to look at an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Now we have large, multiple routines that allow everybody to make the connections between the different routines and across the organizers, and it enriches our conversation and really lets us have more sharing and generate more complex ideas. Here's a couple of examples that for a PBL, this is the fundraiser that we did last year. Keep in mind, we had been using the BenQ Board all of 3 months when we were doing this. And this is originally what a poster would have looked like when we were trying to do any kind of poster, where they would piece it together or maybe do it on Google Slide and then we'd print it. Took a lot of time to do this, where then we could do things like this in a fraction of the time. And pop it up on InstaShare, and the kids could talk through it, make sure it was saying everything that we wanted, that all the information was correct, and that it was that the design was working the way we wanted it to. Another one that we did, they had to make commercials for this. This is not the whole edited version, but they were really wanting to figure out how to make little dance work. And so when they were introducing teachers, the dance guy would move around, and you would have to try and help. And again, this was one of the things that we were able to do much more easily because they could put it on InstaShare, and then they showed each other how to do it. And so they were teaching each other how to enhance and improve their own work and use different tools in different ways. And there we go. They taught each other how to use a new platform, one of the things that they did teach each other with the PBL that we did was how to use Canva and translate. So they wanted to make sure that all of our students, we have 11 different languages at Pine Creek at the time, and they wanted everybody to be able to take home a parent flyer that the parents could read. So they created the flyer and then taught each other how to translate it so that every language in our building had a flyer that was in their home language. Again, in a fraction of a time, it's a push of a button. And because they could see it being done on InstaShare, everybody was able to become experts in how to translate. So now when we did our story project, they all knew how to do it. So when we did the English version of their poem and then the translated version of their poem, they knew how to do it in like 10 seconds. And then for our board presentation for our dance marathon, when we got done, and you're not going to look at all 43 sides. If you want to look at them, you may. The QR code will take you to it. They did a board presentation where on Padlet, oops, it's going to take me back. So if you go to the Padlet through the QR code, the kids actually made the Padlet, and we again would put it up on InstaShare, and then they would add to it, and then we decided where things needed to go. And they did that one for a board presentation, where they then went to the board and on a board meeting on a Monday night and explained everything that we did for our PBL and our dance marathon. And then they also made one of all their infographics that we did for March Mammal Madness last year when we were doing informational writing. So when you think about new technology, a lot of times people get a little like, I don't know what to do with it. My first suggestion, play with it. It's what we ended up doing and how we ended up figuring out all these things that we could do with it is when we needed something that we were trying to figure out how to make our work better, we then went to the technology and what technology will help us do that. And the InstaShare let us do that in real time with each other. There was an ease of teaching those skills and the technology in real time. The revising piece was huge. That's like the biggest game changer when it came to any of our writing. And then being able to share the sharing and the connecting and the expanding of student thinking, because they were learning from each other, growing their own thinking out from each other. And a lot of times the kids will come up with something that can be done or an idea, and then it grows as it gets shared with each other. And it has improved the quality of the work that the kids are producing in a fraction of the time. And then if you have any questions, there is my email that you are free to email me. And that is a little picture of my BenQ board that is sitting underneath my email.
Wow, Kim, this is awesome. I am just blown away with all the information that you've shared with us today, how your students are really creatively getting inspired, inspiring each other, working together alongside with you to learn things quickly, first of all, in less time, and able to get more done and accomplished. I really appreciate you taking the time out today and showing us and inspiring others around you as well to be able to utilize the features of our InstaShare to app and really incorporate that in our daily in their daily routines to be able to get the most benefit out of it. What I would like, Francisco, is if you would share your screen with the board. What we'll like to do is we'll start taking questions from the audience. They can be for us or for Kim, as she's shared phenomenal stuff with us. I hope that it's inspiring to all the educators out there to be able to utilize the boards and InstaShare just the way you've been doing that in your classroom and how it's been benefiting not only you doing your job, but also helping and teach your students to teach each other and learn from each other and collaborating with each other as well.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? If there are, please throw them in the Q&A or the chat session. Okay, well, so Kim, your class is a 1-to-1 is with Canva, is that correct? And Chromebooks?
We are the kids are 1-to-1 with Chromebooks, correct?
Wonderful. And you're a Google Classroom as well, or a Google School District?
Yes.
And you said your kids are learning Canva very, very quickly because they're so malleable, basically, at this point.
Yes. A lot of times the kids are, excuse me. I had used Canva before, but when I put it up there and showed the kids the little bit I knew at the time, they just ran with it and were able to figure out way more things in a very short amount of time than I was. And because they're so willing to share it, and then we were able to put it up and show everybody how to do it, it just took off. And now it's almost their preferred method of publishing.
Great. We had a question that came in from Tom. He said, the teachers in my school often have connection issues, which they're working on. Does tech issues like that compound with student sharing? I'm going to throw this one to Francisco.
So yes, with that one, because it is dependent on the network that the devices are all on, the more devices on the network, simultaneously streaming, the more bandwidth is going to get used up. So it can at times bog down your network, and it will unfortunately slow it down if you are limited in the school's bandwidth on their network.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody. We have, I think that's it. Oh, hang on a second. How does InstaShare enable data security and privacy when sharing screens wirelessly, i.e. in a school setting with many different kinds of users? I'm going to throw that to Francisco again.
I'm gonna catch it.
Thank you.
So what's great is with the BenQ boards, we have multiple layers of security basically set up. So one of the things, first off, is you have the account management system, which is where you have an authorized user that has a BenQ account set up, which is done primarily through the district services. So whether it be Google Workspace or Microsoft's with Active Directory, those accounts will be created. So you would have to either log into the board or have physical access to the boards. And that's another one. The schools can also set up a specific network for the boards themselves, which is a lot of the case that happens. But those networks can also be what's called network tunneled, so that they can communicate with the wireless networks or even a wire network that is connected to and associated with either teacher devices or student devices. You also have a couple of additional settings. Let me switch over here that I can show you real quick within InstaShare 2. So I mentioned this little settings box earlier. So in here we have, the smart split screen floating window. Well, if you go right here to the settings, we have a couple of additional options that can be implemented on a board by board basis. So you can actually turn on a connection password that has to be typed in every time someone were to try and connect to the specific board. You also have another option here that says confirm before devices share content. Now with this setting on, and let me demonstrate, I've got my device ready. If I go to share my screen from my device, I get this pop-up message here across the bottom that says, hey, this device wants to share their screen. You have a countdown here, and I can either allow or deny this device access to my InstaShare. So with this setting in place, if I do not recognize the device, I can hit deny, and that device does not get shared to my screen. If I recognize it, I hit allow, and then my device can then be shared up on screen. So those are a couple of the actual sharing settings that you have access to from each individual board, just as additional layers of security on top of the account managed piece, as well as the networking piece the school districts have in place.
Wonderful. Thank you, Francisco. We had a follow-up question to that. It says, currently our IFPs are on a separate SSID. So with that same sort of thought process regarding security, having a separate SSID and then the kids being able to cast, or do they have to be on with the board? They have to be on the same internet password, or not internet password, but basically the same IP address. Is that correct?
So they would either have to be on the same network or a network that has been set up by the IT department so that the two networks can actually communicate. It's called network tunneling, or under a subnet. And that's really technical that I'm not 100% sure that this is the right avenue for that, but they can be set up. And it's really just about having certain ports open so that communication happens back and forth between the two. And that's really going to just depend on how the district has that set up.
Thank you. We had Brandy. She made a quick comment. She said, highly recommend confirm before sharing. We have had people accidentally sharing to the wrong board. So Brandy, thank you so much for your insights, because that's wonderful. And then we had one final question. How much bandwidth can you guesstimate is needed per connection? This is from Marty.
And that's something that it really depends on the number of devices and then what each device is actually sharing.
Okay. All right. Well, are there any further questions for our team? I know we're running into the end of our time with you guys. I want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Thanks again for both our presenters, Francisco and Kim, for giving us a very insightful webinar event today. And Elaine as well, as you guys opened up what you've been doing in your school and really sharing your story, inspiring others over here today. I was honestly floored and wowed with all the stuff that you and your students are accomplishing in your classroom. It's amazing how you're using the board and the InstaShare to really get everybody engaged and get going in that. What I would like to do is I would like to thank everyone for sticking around and hearing everything that we had to share. We're gonna go ahead and send an email out before the end of this week with the recording of this webinar and also our presentations that's been shared, along with the quick demo video that Francisco shared with you as well. So we'll do that. We will also pick a webinar winner who will be getting a BenQ Halo screen bar for their use, and we will reach out to you via email to inform you and gather some information to be able to send that out to you guys. With that, I would like to thank everyone, and we will love to see you back again next month. We'll be getting more details about next month's webinar out to you guys. All right, thank you. Have a great day.